Hey, how are you? I'm SliceofOtaku, and the insane compilation of villainous figures present during the opening number for Steven Universe Future has so many potential points of interest that, although cool, it's pretty easy to overlook one creature in particular. This big Cactus Steven thing is really cool, but next to all these other presences, sort of pales in comparison. It almost comes across as something that would have been major in like the first season or something. But at this stage in the game, we've sort of seen it all, so it's easy to overlook. But I don't think we should, and that's because everything here has a purpose. Steven Universe Future is a series intended to wrap up the franchise in the most conclusive way possible. So really, there's no reason for us to underestimate this thing. And I honestly think it'll be really important for Steven's overall growth as a character. And that's because even at this stage of his life, he's still yet to completely master all of his gem abilities. And seeing as how this creature is a sentient plant with Steven heads all over it, it's pretty safe to say that it owes its existence to Steven's powers of foliage manipulation. And really, Steven has never displayed any degree of true control over this ability. And that might just be because when it comes to this one, it's sort of like a mutated version of his mother's, as the plants he's provided sentience to in the past may have displayed an innate desire to please him, but ultimately are not obligated to follow him in the slightest, seeing as how the Watermelon Stevens went against his wishes and Pumpkin denounced her loyalty to him. But even still, the ability to bestow such a degree of intelligence upon otherwise unintelligible life forms is arguably his greatest. Because if such a thing were to be mastered, it could very easily upset the balance of the entire world. And so to me, what this threat could serve to provide would be the cementation of Steven's mastery. Something that would certainly aid in his combating of even greater threats later on. Now, as for how exactly this monstrosity came to be, there's plenty worth speculating, as I'm pretty doubtful that such a bestowal would have been intentional on Steven's part. Now firstly, it could be the byproduct of some other application of his powers, as the Watermelon Stevens have already displayed the capacity for further population beyond Steven's direct involvement, and have even gone on to produce sentient plant life of lesser intelligence beyond the model of his visage, in the form of dogs, birds, and even sharks. Which is to say that although isolated for some time, with the ever-accelerated expanse of their numbers from season 1 till now, their relative containment gradually diminishes as a result. And let us not forget that the Watermelon Stevens were the focus of the second to last episode of the series, so they're not forgotten. Not to mention, within that episode Escapism, Steven introduced the concept of boats to them, which could be really dangerous. One, because they have their religion, so maybe they want to expand their religion to the globe, and two, they have a military, so maybe they want to expand their territory. And so Steven may have inadvertently facilitated major changes to the ecosystem, to which he may now be made to face. I mean, even with the end of Steven Universe the movie, we have him kissing the ground as a means of restoration, in what may, from a certain perspective, be considered an irresponsible use of his powers. However, the more straightforward and or simple means to which this creature may have come to be could be as simple as Steven spits or pricks his finger on a cactus. And in that case, his blood could potentially act as the X factor leading to their crazed state. Or hey, maybe Steven really had to pee and this thing is just upset by the means of its creation. And from there, let's talk about why we should be concerned by this thing to begin with. Well, keeping in mind the concept of this being the final hurdle in the mastery of Steven's abilities, to me, this thing really reminds me of cat fingers, which at the time very much fulfilled a similar purpose in showing just how overwhelming Steven's powers can be at times, as he nearly consumed himself with it. And at that, I really like the sound of cactus fingers, so if we could make that a thing, that'd be great. But yeah, let's not forget how a gang of Watermelon Stevens managed to overwhelm the crystal gems and force them into submission back in the day. And those were watermelons. Cacti have natural defense mechanisms and tend to be a lot harder to rupture than watermelons. I seriously doubt anyone would want to take a hit from something like this. So yeah, really interested to see how exactly they'll go about handling a thing like this, and what exactly leads to its creation. And you know, I feel like I belong to the minority of fans that's just really fascinated by the Watermelon Stevens, and so this almost feels like it was made for me. I've been talking about their absurd advancements in technology and society for ages now, since the beginning of my channel. So to see some sort of threat potentially arise from that portion of the story makes me really happy. But let me know what you think. Having heard everything I have to say, do you find yourself more interested in this creature than before? And how do you think they came to be? Let me know down below. And once again, the thumbnail of this video was made by the incredible Dream Big Stars over on Instagram. So if you like it, go ahead and show some support their way as well. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.